started a little too early. Hi, my name is Missy. The name sign is with curly hair, but usually people call me Miss E, emphasis on the miss. And that's because growing up, I would just miss a lot of information. And so they named sign me with the Missy. So that's an old sign, but I really like it. So I'm from a family with 5 children. The last 2 are deaf, and one cousin's deaf that's also lost their hearing. But the first is my older sister. She's hearing, but she's an interpreter. My older 2 brothers, they sign as well. Growing up, I sign with my family, so I'm really lucky with that. So yeah, I've just used sign over the years. My husband, he signs as well, and then my daughter, who's 20 months old, she signs. So it's just really wonderful. And currently I'm 5 months pregnant, and check it out. It's my second baby. With my first baby, my stomach was so small and people wouldn't even recognize that I was pregnant. But now people think, oh my gosh, you're 5 months pregnant, you're big. Like, oh yeah, thank you. But anyways, so I got a letter from my grandpa who told me that it's his 100th birthday. But anyways, in his letter to me, he wrote down that my daughter is his 68th great grandchild. 68th. Can you imagine? That means that my daughter, that's her great grandpa, she's number 62. That is a huge family. So I'm excited. We're actually going to see my grandpa soon. The whole family is going to gather together, and that's over 300 people with just one family. So that's going to be really fun. Next one to load. Hi, once again, my name is Missy. Missy again. So I'm talking to you about my home backyard. It's pretty big, and the soil is so rich. We live in Arizona, and a lot of people think that it's flat and dry and have tumbleweeds going around, but just bushes going through the town. But that's really not true. My home yard has many trees. I have fig trees and 3 lemon trees and a citrus tree, as well as but the last one is bamboo, which is the worst because it's 25 feet tall. And the reason why is because my home requires irrigation, where every 2 weeks we have to release water. So for 3 hours at a time, we open up the valve and let the water run in. And I have a special pipe that releases it evenly that I open up, and then it pours into my yard, and you have to leave it, and it just runs for 3 hours. It kind of looks like a lake across my yard with the grass. And to get to your car, you have to trudge out, which it's not awful because the water is warm. And then you can drive away, and you can just see the water rippling from the car driving. But really, there's just many trees, and the soil's rich, which means that has a lot of worms, or worms meaning that has good soil. So I thought, I'm going to develop a garden. But what I didn't realize was that making a garden is tough. Before, I had no knowledge of this. I thought my mom did it. This will be great. I'll become a little farmer. So I thought I needed to buy special soil for it and make a little box and put the soil in and everything. So before, we had made a wooden box or barrier around and then dug it out. It was a really lot of work with the machine to kind of turn up the soil and make it loose to be able to get out. Make it nice and rich soil. And then we went and got the wood and put it around the barrier. So we went and got special soil with a big truck to come in and dump the soil into the box. I thought it was really cool. We had a big pile, and then we had to make it flat and perfect. And then I was excited to put the seeds in, so I thought I'll go buy, cabbage, then spinach, red peppers, and squash. Can't remember that last one. So these 4, I just thought I was a beginner, so I would just try 4 and I wasn't very experienced, but I didn't realize that cabbage grows so easily. And so you're really supposed to be very careful with putting the cabbage in just a few, and it will pop up small little cabbage. But I just shook the whole thing on there in a huge line. Then the spinach I gave kind of generously. The red peppers I put down as well. And then squash, I remember that my mom warned me that if you put in one seed of squash, it will grow. That you must leave space for it to grow, otherwise it will come out and all the roots will tangle all of the other plants and then they won't grow. So I remember that, so I just planted 3 seeds of squash. So I was also told that every morning you must water the garden and you must really respect your plants and plead for them to grow. And so I remember my mom telling me that. So one memory I have is that the birds would come and try and get all of the plants. I thought, oh, well, that's why farmers always had a scarecrow set up, because birds just love the garden. And so I would have to go out there and shoo them away. So what I would do is I would let my dog out, and my dog would chase the bird off. But it wasn't really growing. The squash wasn't growing. Same with the red peppers. I mean, there was a bud maybe, but not anything. The spinach was kind of starting to pick up, but the cabbage was well on its way. I thought, wow, that's fast. So about 2 weeks later, now remember, Arizona temperature is very consistent, so it's easy for cabbage and spinach to grow. So I checked to make sure it's perfect and everything, and that there were no birds checking on it. And also that there weren't any rodents coming in and taking up my garden. So then So anyways, my kids would get everything was just kind of getting into my garden, and things were very interested in it. I thought, man, this garden is really tough. I did not expect this. I don't think it's really possible anymore. But I'll be patient, and then a month later the cabbage started to grow. Now remember, I didn't put it down just a few, I fully, so there was so much cabbage filling up my garden. It was easy. But you have to remember, you have to eat cabbage morning and night to eat all of that. So it was just so much, I couldn't do it. So I started giving it to my neighbors and friends. And they loved it. They thought, wow, this is beautiful, fresh cabbage. So I shared it with them. But there was no spinach, so that was pretty depressing. And red pepper, there was one. But with the squash, worms had gone to it and eaten it. So that didn't grow. So that was really a bummer. I remember back home, I'm really starting to respect my mom. So I have to remember to save the space and keep the soil and make it develop for worms. And next time I'll also put a cage over it to protect from the birds. I'll remember that. So hopefully next year my garden will be successful. So we'll see.